This is Car Guys New England, and today's video topic is going to be a little bit different. This is about getting through a police encounter, with as little problems as possible, kind of some of the do's and don'ts if you happen to get pulled over, especially nowadays. Obviously, there's been a lot of things in the news, regarding, police officers unfortunately shooting people, and also just people doing the wrong things that, can make police nervous. So we'll talk about a few of those things and go over that. But first, we'll get started and talk about, what to do if you're pulled over and, you know, where to go from there. All right. So let's say you're just driving along and all of a sudden you pass a cop going the other direction, and they decide to pull a Yui and decide to come get you. At that point, as soon as they put their strobes on, you're going to want to put your directional on to signal to them that you are pulling over. You want to make sure that you're pulling over in a safe place. If you're, always try to get as far over as you can, not only for just, your own safety, but also for the officers. But a lot of states now actually come to the passenger side. So as you're pulling over, I'd recommend rolling your windows down beforehand, before you actually stop. The other thing as well is don't start reaching for a million things in the car. Actually, you are going to just pull over, have your windows down so they can easily approach the vehicle. And what you're going to want to do is shut the vehicle off. And the reason for this is because you are less of a threat to the officer. They know that you're not going to run off. The other thing as well, make sure that you put your hazards on. So we're going to put the hazards on at this point. And at this point, what you're going to want to do is keep both hands firmly gripped on the steering wheel. 10 and 2, I obviously can't do the other one because I'm holding the camera. And you are going to greet the officer when he comes to your car. The last thing that you want to do when he comes over to your window would be to say, "Why did you pull me over?" That isn't a good way to start the conversation, and we'll get into that in a second. Okay, so at this point, the officer's at the window of the car. You're going to have both hands on 10 and 2. Make sure you greet the officer and be polite. Don't, like I said in the earlier clip, don't say, "Why'd you pull me over?" or anything like that. Good morning, officer. Good afternoon, officer. Or the other thing that you can do is you can try to kind of make a joke or something. And, you can really get a feel for how the whole encounter is going to go, depending on, their reaction to what you say. You know, because most police actually decide whether or not they're going to ticket you when they greet you at the window of your vehicle. And sometimes you'll get lucky and you'll get an officer that's extremely reasonable, things like that. And actually, if your greeting's really good or it's funny, a lot of times they'll let you go, or they'll just give you a verbal warning and you're on your way. Now, one thing to keep in mind is if the officer at that point asks you for your license and registration, if your license is in your wallet, you explain to him, "I'm going to go into my left pocket or my back pocket or whatever to get my wallet." Make sure you tell him that. Exactly what you're doing. Make your movements very slow. Don't make any fast movements. This is for your own safety, because obviously they're afraid that you're going to pull out a weapon. So just make sure that, you're wise in that. And same thing when you're going into your glove box. That's actually a very area of the vehicle that makes police very nervous. So when you say you're going to go into the glove box to get your registration and insurance papers, things like that, uh, tell them exactly what you're doing, do it very slowly, and politely hand the officer the paperwork. Most of the time, they're just going to go back to their vehicle. They're going to run your info, and they're going to see if you have any outstanding warrants, things like that. And also, they're going to check your prior driving history. And that may, at that point, be a deciding factor whether or not you get a ticket or not. So keep that in mind. All right. So you're at the point where the officer gets back out of the vehicle. At this point, you're either going to notice that he has nothing in his hands other than your license and your paperwork. At that point, you're either going to get a verbal warning or they're just going to let you go. Be very grateful, thank the officer, shake his hand, and just chalk that up as, a good encounter, and, you can just be on your way. Now, if the officer comes out and you can tell he's holding a citation or a written warning, still graciously accept it. The ticket may be for, you know, a lot of money, but graciously accept it. And here's the reason why that I say that. Now, you can always fight a ticket pretty much in any state. You want to be as least memorable to the officer as possible. And the reason for that is you don't want to be an asshole to the cop after he gives you a ticket, because if you bring it to court, that will just add to his whole incident report. So you want to be just very low key, just not memorable, stuff like that. Just graciously accept it, and you can decide whether or not, you want to pay the ticket or whether or not you want to, fight it, or whatever you want to do. Every state's different. Some of them make you sign something right there on the spot, whether or not you're going to fight it. Um, in other states, you just mail in the ticket and you set up a court date, and, you'll either appear, before a magistrate or a judge or whatever it be. It's different in every single state. So just a little food for thought. But just always try to make the officer just feel comfortable, number one. Treat them with respect, number two. And always just let them feel like they have the upper hand. It's don't let pride, get in the way of, even if the officer just is unprofessional or is a jerk or something like that. Don't go to his level. A lot of them, if they're like that, they might be trying to bait you to do something, you know, to create more of a bad situation. So just don't fall for any of that. Just be safe out there. Hopefully, this video is useful to somebody out there that ends up getting pulled over. It might save somebody's life. I don't know. But I was just thinking about this. It's been a big hot topic in the news, and recently a family member was pulled over, told me about his encounter with the police today, and it just everything I heard about it, it was just bad from the get-go, and he ended up walking away with a ticket. And I told him, I'm like, you from the get-go, you probably wouldn't have got a ticket if you did X, Y, Z.